Welcome to Flashback Friday, where I take a look at an 80s film and give it a review. And today, you're talking about BeetleJuice. Can't say the name. Screw it. We're talking about BeetleJuice. Yes, from 1988, directed by Tim Burton, and starring Michael Keaton, Alec Baldwin, Gina Davis, Jeffrey Jones, Catherine O'Hara, and Winona Ryder. So, as I often like to do, a little history with me. See, I did not grow up with the movie. No. I grew up with the animated cartoon that they showed on the Fox Kids and a Nickelodeon. That's what I grew up with. And it was one night in the late 90s that I was at my grandma's house and I saw BeetleJuice was on the Disney Channel. And this was back when the Disney Channel didn't give a fuck about what they played, because they used to play Back to the Future. Well, 2 and 3, but still. And they, back in the 90s, Disney Channel used to play movies from other studios as well. You know. And so they played this movie on there. And I'm like, oh, BeetleJuice. I like BeetleJuice. Thinking a cartoon. So I watched it. And expecting BeetleJuice to be on the screen, instead, I get Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis driving in a car, swerving not to hit the dog and dying. And then going back to their house with their ghosts and sandworms, which was BeetleJuice. I'm like, hey, sandworms, that's BeetleJuice. But where is BeetleJuice? I've now said it like 6 times, so why didn't he pop up and go, shoot him? Who knows? Anyway, I was confused. Little 11-year-old me confused as to why BeetleJuice was not on the screen. Well, and then you should have seen my face, because when BeetleJuice popped up on the screen eventually, I was like, wait a minute, that's Batman! BeetleJuice is Batman? What? My mind was blown. BeetleJuice is Batman? What? But, yes. Anyways, what's the story? Basically what I told you. Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis played the Maitlands. And they die in a car accident. And then find out that people are moving into their house that they are currently haunting. It's their house. Why they end up in their house and they don't haunt the river is beyond me, but still. I guess it's their last place where they lived, so I guess that makes sense. They're told by their agent from the dead, Juno, played by Sylvia, I forgot her name, but she was also in Tim Burton's Mars Attacks. But she tells them you gotta deal with them yourselves to get rid of them. Although they do see an ad for BeetleJuice, which they call BeetleJuice, and we'll get to the misspelling in a minute, because I have a theory on why they did this. It's never been specifically said, but I have a theory. So, yeah. And eventually, though, BeetleJuice does weasel his way out, and all hell breaks loose. So, first and foremost, the misspelling. Well, they spelled BeetleJuice like the constellation. Betelgeuse, which Alec Baldwin keeps calling BeetleJuice. And, maybe they, it's spelled normally. It's going to be backwards, but it's spelled normally on the cover and in the title card and stuff. But why? Well, people say that they changed the spelling so that people will be able to pronounce it. But I think that in the ads on the screen in the film, it's misspelled because how many times does Alec Baldwin say BeetleJuice? More than 3, right? So if he, for them to say it, but if they, because to say it, just in conversation, they would say it 3 times and get sucked to the graveyard, right? So I think that they did that so that he could mispronounce it and not get sucked to the graveyard after saying it 3 times. I'm just saying. It makes sense. Now, what doesn't make sense, now the original script that Tim Burton had the 3 name thing wasn't a thing. They just had to exhume his grave and bring him back. But then they added the 3 name thing, but still kept the grave exhumation. They still exhumed his grave. It's very confusing to me why they would still have this, even Juno doesn't want them to even say his name, mention his name, not even once. Because if you say it, something will happen. But then they say it 3 times, and they end up at the graveyard and have to dig him up. So why are they so afraid? You say it 3 times, they're in the graveyard and be like, and walk off and explore other places. If they accidentally say it. It makes no sense why they would have to dig up his grave. It's very confusing. I know they have to do it to bring him out, but... and also in the original script, once they dug out his grave, he was free to do whatever. But then they still had to say... his name still had to be said 3 more times. So, you say his name 3 times, then you have to dig him out of his grave, and then say his name 3 times again. So you have to say his name collectively 6 times and dig up his grave to free him. Why were they so afraid for them to say his name? It just doesn't make any sense to me. We got some character actors in this film. We got Glenn Shaddix, who plays Otho, who also played Bab in Demolition Man, and he's probably one of the greatest side characters in this film. He's probably the best side character in this film. Delia is a close second, with her wearing gloves for a hairband, and Charles' shirt is Pence later on in the film. His sweater is Pence. She has a weird fashion sense. Speaking of Chuck, speaking of Charles Dietz, he's the biggest pushover ever. Alright? Now, he moved his family out to the country because he wanted a country life. And then proceeds to let his wife completely destroy the house that he said was country-like. The reason why he bought it is because of what the house looked like. And then he lets her completely change it. Grow some balls, Chuck. I'm telling you. Grow some balls, Chuck. Don't be such a pushover. I'm just saying. We also have Robert Goulet, star of Robert Goulet's Old-Fashioned Cajun Christmas, seen on IBC every Christmas, as broadcast by Frank Cross. Yes, that is a Scrooge reference. Scrooged reference. But I can't help it. He's in this. He plays sort of Charles Delia's boss or something like that. And he's there for something. Dick Cavett, who was in Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors. He kills Zsa Zsa Gabor in there. But, it's Freddy Krueger. But still, he's in this. He plays an associate of Delia's, of course. The dinner scene. Before I get to what people want to talk about with the dinner scene, why are they letting them smoke at the dinner table? Look, I'm sorry. Look, smoke in the house, sure. Probably not too comfortable with that myself, but you are not smoking at my dinner table when we are trying to consume the food. That is disgusting, and I will not stand for it. But anyway, let's talk about the most memorable part of the dinner scene, shall we? Deo, me say Deo, did I come and me want go home? Da, me said that, me said that, me said that, me said Deo, did I come and me want go home? Yes. Yes. That is probably the most memorable scene of the movie. And then you get the thing in the end too. But it is And I watched it with the sound on, because, I watched this a million times. I can watch it with the sound off. But I watched it with the sound on. It is it's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. You got Charles looking under the table to see, Chuck looking under the table to see if there's something going on. It's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. So, BeetleJuice's big plan is to convince, because old Otho has used the handbook for the recently deceased, which I've always thought that humans should not be able to see, because from what I've known, it's for the deceased. So humans, like people who are alive, should not be able to see this book, and yet Otho gets his hands on it. But anyway, they use that to bring the Maitlands back, but they're like deformed ghouls, so that Delia has to summon BeetleJuice. But I remember when he's trying to tell her his name, Beetle Orange Beetle. I'm just saying. She does finally say BeetleJuice, BeetleJuice, BeetleJuice. Showtime. And then his whole thing is, okay, he saves them, but now he's gonna marry her and stop them from saying his name, but eventually it does. And then this leads to one of my biggest complaints. Before I get, the end with the they learn to live with the Maitlands, which you got ghosts living in your house. I guess it works. But why does BeetleJuice go to the waiting room for the deceased? He's already dead. Therefore, he doesn't need to go to the waiting room to get processed. He's already dead. It doesn't make any sense to me, other than the joke where he gets his head shrunk. Other than that, it makes no sense why he ends up he's already dead. It just confuses me. But anyway, this movie is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I'm giving it a 10. I'm giving it a 10, and I really appreciate this film, because if it wasn't this film, there wouldn't be Batman. Why? Because Tim Burton was pushing to direct Batman, but Warner Brothers was not sure about letting him direct Batman until this film came out, and then they let him direct Batman, and the rest is history. So, in other words, thank you, Tim Burton, for being a wacky, crazy man. And then going down the shithole later. But anyway, make sure to let me know your thoughts on BeetleJuice in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty. Jump in the line, rock your body in time. Okay, I believe you. Jump in the line, rock your body in time. Rock your body time. Jump in the line, rock your body in time. Okay, I believe you. Jump in the line, rock your body in time.